Ahead of World Refugee Day, Spain sees a summer surge of migrants as southern European countries call for a solution to the crisis. Foul play, how young African soccer players are being lured to Russia with fake promises of lucrative contracts. And a new exhibit at the African American Museum in Washington has Oprah Winfrey written all over it. Africa 54 starts right now.
Good evening and welcome. I'm Vincent McCory. This is Africa 54. Just days ahead of Wednesday's United Nations designated World Refugee Day, hundreds of migrants have arrived in Spain. 3 ships brought more than 600 migrants to the port of Valencia on Sunday after the Spanish Coast Guard on Friday and Saturday rescued more than 900 migrants in the Gibraltar Strait. VOA's Zlatica Hoke has more on the European migrant crisis.
Humanitarian ship the Aquarius, aided by Italian vessels the Dattilo and the Orione, brought 629 migrants to Spain on Sunday. They were rescued off the coast of Libya last week from smugglers' boats and were accepted by Spain after both Italy and Malta refused them. Sunday's arrivals add to the 930 migrants rescued by Spain's Coast Guard in the Gibraltar Strait since Friday.
The Spanish government has determined that these people are to be granted an extraordinary entry due to humanitarian reasons for 45 days.
Spanish authorities said they would grant asylum to applicants according to the Spanish law, and France offered to take eligible migrants who wish to go there. Germany has been silent regarding the latest wave of migrants after the government's previously welcoming policy brought into question the future of Chancellor Angela Merkel's leadership. Southern European countries are getting weary of the huge waves of migrants landing on their shores and want an EU policy that would ensure a fair share of the burden.
We must create European processing centers in the countries of origin and transit. That way we can anticipate and accelerate the identification procedures and request for European asylum.
Pope Francis on Sunday called on countries to come to an agreement while urging local communities to embrace the desperate people.
I hope that the countries involved in these processes will reach an agreement to ensure, with responsibility and humanity, the assistance and the protection of those who are forced to leave their country. Each of us is also called to get close to refugees, meet with them, and value their contribution to the community.
A European Union law known as the Dublin Regulation stipulates that member states through which the asylum seekers first enter the bloc are responsible for their asylum claims. That puts a heavy burden on Mediterranean countries such as Greece, Malta, and Italy, where most of the migrants first land. Zlatica Hoke, VOA News, Washington.
Well, in West Africa, there are conflicting reports on the number of people killed in explosions. Police say blasts killed at least 20 people and wounded 48 others in the northeast Nigerian state of Borno. But 2 residents say they counted at least 31 dead. The attack marks the largest in several weeks by the Boko Haram insurgency. Residents who were among those counting the dead say the explosions occurred in the Damboa area of the state on Saturday evening. They said there was at least one rocket attack. Injured victims were flown to the state capital Maiduguri for treatment. The last large attack in the northeast occurred in early May, when at least 20 people were killed in neighboring Adamawa state. In East Africa, 8 Kenyan police officers were killed on Sunday in the east of the country when their vehicle hit an improvised explosive device planted by Somalia's Al-Shabaab terrorist group. Charles Owino, Kenya's police spokesman, told Reuters the officers were killed while protecting the country's borders. The militants also seized 8 weapons, 6 AK-47 assault rifles and 2 G3 battle rifles, along with 510 rounds of ammunition from the slain officers. Al-Shabaab frequently launch attacks in neighboring Kenya to pressure it into withdrawing its troops, which form part of the peacekeeping force in Somalia. At least 5 people were killed and several others hurt on Sunday as a sport utility vehicle carrying more than a dozen people crashed while fleeing from Border Patrol agents in South Texas. Authorities say the SUV carrying 14 people spun out of control at more than 100 miles per hour and flipped over on Texas State Highway 85, ejecting most of the passengers. 4 victims were declared dead at the scene, and at least 1 and possibly 2 others died at a nearby hospital, according to an official at the Border Patrol. The Border Patrol suspects the vehicle was part of a smuggling operation. The incident comes amid heightened tensions over the treatment of immigrants at the southern border. Well, lawmakers in Washington are refocused on immigration as the Trump administration defends the separation of some immigrant children from their parents at the U.S.-Mexican border. The House of Representatives is preparing for expected votes on major reforms to U.S. immigration law. Here's viewers Michael Bowman.
Once a rare practice, federal agents now routinely separate families seeking asylum or attempting to enter the United States illegally. Roughly 2,000 minors are being housed in facilities like this converted Walmart in Texas, while their parents' immigration status is decided. Video released by the U.S. government shows what appear to be humane conditions, but furor over the Trump administration's zero-tolerance policy for unauthorized border arrivals has surged.
This is horrifying, and we're taking kids as young as 4 months, I saw, 1 to 2 years old. That's an atrocity.
The policy is designed to frighten the parents by taking away their kids, traumatizing the kids, and they think that that will serve as a deterrent for people exercising a basic human right, which is to ask for asylum.
President Donald Trump continues to view America's immigration debate through the lens of public safety, often pointing to foreign-born members of a vicious Central American gang.
Thousands of MS-13 gang members who have infiltrated our country so illegally and so violently live by their gruesome motto: kill, rape, control.
And the White House insists it is just following the law.
The children can be taken care of quickly, beautifully, and immediately. The Democrats forced that law upon our nation.
Immigration experts and many legal scholars say, in fact, the administration is interpreting U.S. immigration law as no other administration has. Democrats have condemned both the policy and Trump's rationale for pursuing it.
In the world, there's a recognition that people can seek asylum, except apparently not in the United States.
Keep on bringing it down.
Emotions are being stoked as the House of Representatives prepares to vote this week on 2 competing Republican immigration reform bills.
We said from the beginning we want the House to debate immigration reform in a serious, meaningful way, and it looks like that is happening for the first time in nearly a decade.
Both bills would provide legal status to hundreds of thousands of undocumented immigrants brought to America as children, make sweeping changes to legal immigration, and boost U.S. border security. It is unclear either will attract enough votes to pass. Michael Bowman, VOA News, Washington.
Now, nothing brings people together more naturally and more easily than good food. This was the idea behind a new food truck project in Los Angeles. The truck owner who initiated the project don't want to only serve delicious food. Their goal is to unite Latinos and Muslims and fight the stereotypes and offensive rhetoric that often surround them. Eugenia Dillard has more.
A small taco truck is parked just steps away from a mosque in southern Los Angeles, in a residential area popular with Mexicans and African Americans. Mosque goers and Latinos are invited to share these free tacos. Ben Vasquez and Raida Hamida cooked up the idea for the truck. Ben's family is from Mexico, Raida's is from Palestine. They met in 2015 and decided to do something to unite two large communities that face growing discrimination and immigration issues.
Whatever happens to an oppressed community will eventually happen to another oppressed community. And we're already struggling with people trying to define us in the way that demonizes us and demoralizes us.
We are something beautiful within each other, and as we talk and we break bread with each other, and we're able to talk, we take off those prejudices that was put upon us by other people.
They launched their project, Taco Trucks at Every Mosque, in 2017. Since then, they've given away more than 30,000 tacos and fed more than 8,000 people. But their truck brings more than food. They've driven the truck from the California's capital, Sacramento, to the Mexican state of Baja California, carrying a message against hatred and racial stereotypes.
We face a lot of dehumanization every day, as women, as DACA recipients, as people of color. So again, knowing other communities are going through the same thing, it's very heartbreaking. But again, it leads back to coming to events like these, and really getting to know every community, getting to know why we all belong here and why we all have a reason to be here and why we all deserve and should be here. Yeah.
The founders of Taco Trucks at Every Mosque have thought of nearly everything. Their tacos are made with halal meat in accordance with Islamic law. And while few people know this, they believe there may be historical evidence to suggest that the humble taco came to Mexico from the Middle East, where it still exists as shawarma. All this, Raida and Ben say, is yet more proof that no matter the cultural differences, there are more things that can bring communities together than divide them, including a shared fondness for tacos. Jenia Dulo for VOA News, Los Angeles.
Well, I want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we covered. Join the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa 54. We're also streaming our show live on Facebook, so check us out and share our show with your friends. Find me on Twitter at VOA Vince McCory. You're watching Africa 54. In a moment, we'll take you inside the African American Museum's newest exhibit, Oprah Winfrey. But first, here's a look at Monday's headlines. Well, with the World Cup in full swing, fans from around the world are arriving in Russia, many visiting for the first time after long journeys from Africa, South America and Asia. Many Russians say the fans have already transformed their home cities. Henry Ridgwell reports from Red Square in Moscow.
Mexico, Peru, Colombia y Argentina, Uruguay, Brazil, Costa Rica y Panama.
Moscow has become a global mosaic of celebration. The streets around the Kremlin, heavily guarded and snowbound for much of the year, are transformed with Latin passion and African rhythm.
Everything is new for us, it's new culture, it's new language, and it's very difficult the communication, but we are very excited.
The people are very nice and it looks very nice.
O sea, mexicanos,
latinoamericanos, europeos, asiáticos, todo el mundo unidos por algo.
The locals have not seen anything like it.
Все очень дружелюбно друг к другу относятся. Это атмосфера праздника, ну, грандиозное событие, намного круче, чем Новый год.
Some have travelled here even though their own countries have not qualified, like 12-year-old Abdul Jabbar from Sudan.
Hello, we are here in Moscow. The weather is wonderful.
Nigerians living in Russia put on a welcoming party for their travelling supporters.
We are going to win the cup. I'm optimistic.
They party to the fullest. Experience what it means by bringing all Nigerians together. They like grooving.
After the partying, a bit of culture. Moscow's ornate metro system is now a kaleidoscope of teen colours as visitors explore the city. Russia is eager to show off its cultural attractions, from St. Petersburg's art galleries to the less discovered Islamic heritage in host city Kazan. Thousands of volunteers are on hand to help visitors like Spanish-speaking Yulia, eager to ensure it is a smooth tournament.
Llego a aprender que no hay situaciones imposibles. Siempre solo tienes que calmarte por un segundo, pensar y resolver.
And if you get lost, perhaps the best advice is simply to follow the noise. Henry Ridgewell for VOA News in Moscow.
Now, as soccer's top stars chase World Cup glory in Russia, some young African players lured to the country by scouts with promises of lucrative contracts say that for them, Russia is a place of shattered dreams. VOA's Mariama Diallo reports.
This young man from Ivory Coast says he paid an athletic scout $3,500 only to learn that the promises of a spot for him in a Moscow soccer club was just a sales pitch.
I had a manager at the start who told me that even though football is good in Africa, it's better to try your chances in Europe, to play on European fields, and maybe someday become the best player in the world. He told me lots of things.
A lot of things that never materialized.
You come with energy, but when you arrive, nothing is there as promised by the manager. Then you are stuck at home for the 6 months of freezing cold in Russia, 6 months or even a year without seeing a football pitch. So you're out of shape. You can't even run 5 meters without getting out of breath. And that's when reality hits you.
A reality that left Ismail Sumahoro feeling sad and depressed. He decided to train with the local team instead in the southern city of Krasnodar. That was until his tourist visa ran out, leaving him with no income in a country whose language he could barely speak. 8 years after arriving in Russia, Sumahoro now coaches the Black Stars, a team he created for African footballers to stay in shape and keep their hopes alive. Several times a week, Ernest Akiloman, another dreamer from Nigeria, trains with the team in a Moscow suburb.
When we are coming from Africa, most of us are like 16 or 15, 17, that range of age. And we want to play from the lower league before we can get to the first league, but we don't get the opportunity because of document problem.
While teams in Russia's Premier League can sign foreign talent, players in the lower divisions must be Russian or have a residence permit. Despite not having the correct paperwork, Akiloman stubbornly clings to his dream of breaking into the Premier League. According to the charity Foot Solidaire, a group that fights the trafficking of young African footballers, some 6,000 African minors leave West Africa each year looking to play for a European club. In reality, very few succeed. Mariama Diallo, VOA News.
Now, lawyers by day, 2 Ugandan women are raving about their enthusiasm and love for natural hair, encouraging other women to stop straightening their hair or using hair extensions and keep it natural. But Uganda is also a huge importer of synthetic hair used by women who find it difficult to keep their hair natural. Alima Thumani reports from Kampala.
In Uganda, more women have started to embrace natural hairstyles. However, many describe the maintenance as tough and an inconvenience. Last week, women flocked to the Kinks and Carl's Hair exhibition in Kampala. Here, designers, product manufacturers and enthusiasts share their passion for a hairstyle that many once saw as outdated. Lawyers Lydia Kahuga and Rowena Ruboa exhibited not just their own natural hair, but Afro hair products. Their natural hair journey was guided in part by the high cost of maintaining chemically straightened hair. Rowena says as a student at Makerere University, she would spend more than $50 a month on her hair, an amount she was not able to sustain.
When I found Lydia, who was stylish with her hair, like she was come to class, she's come to class with so many different hairstyles in her natural hair.
The decision to go natural for many of these women did not come easy, especially when it means chopping all of the straightened hair.
When I went natural, I was very drastic. I cut all of it off, so I was bald. So even I was timid, you know, it was like, oh, should I wear a hat? So, of course, some people were looking at me like, why would you take that drastic move? But I think with time I just got comfortable.
To avoid the stigma of natural hairstyles, many Ugandan women keep their hair straightened or use extensions and wigs. But Lydia says this too is changing.
Having natural hair doesn't mean that your hair isn't workplace worthy or look serious or formal or all that. There's so many ways you can hold, like I said it. Natural hair is so versatile, so versatile. There's so many things you can do with your hair. You can curl it.
While Afro hair enthusiasts are increasing in Uganda, the synthetic hair market remains strong. In 2017, Uganda imported over 566,000 kilograms of synthetic hair, valued at more than $3.2 million. Irene Nachibombo operates from downtown Kampala, selling synthetic hair. She says that for women who find it hard to go natural but want to look the part, the market accommodates them too.
You bring variety, you bring straight pieces, you bring even the natural pieces, the curly ones, even the straight but natural, so that people will still find what they want.
To assist natural hair lovers, Rowena and Lydia have taken to blogging, where they showcase information on how to maintain natural hair, the latest organic products to use, and Afro salons to go to. Halima Athmani for VOA News, Kampala.
Well, the Smithsonian National Museum of African American History and Culture has surprised visitors with a new exhibit dedicated to the legendary Oprah Winfrey. It focuses on the early life of the iconic TV star, who is a role model for many Americans. Maxim Maskalkov has the story.
TV host, actress, producer, human rights activist and billionaire. Oprah Winfrey has had the energy and the passion to do many things in her storied career, and to do them well. Her influence on modern American culture is inestimable, which may explain why hundreds gathered at the doors of the museum to see the new exhibit about her life.
It's really a beautiful opportunity to be able to connect and understand what it means, you know, sort of from a cultural phenomenon standpoint, what it really means to sort of see the story of a young woman who kind of grew up in Mississippi and in Nashville and Milwaukee, be able to have such a sort of impact on the world.
From hundreds of videos, old photographs, personal belongings and dresses that she wore on TV, to her books, her numerous awards, several Emmys, a Presidential Medal of Freedom, the Golden Globe. Organizers say it was not easy choosing which items to exhibit. Winfrey's daytime program was one of the most successful talk shows in the history of American television. First aired 25 years ago and seen in nearly 150 countries, her show was not just popular, it helped shape American pop culture. With over 4,500 episodes and more than 25,000 studio guests, Winfrey's show covered almost every topic under the sun, from politics, sports, economic and the environment. Many believe her show brought people together at the time when they needed it most.
I think it's important to realize that the Oprah Winfrey Show looked at so many of the issues that have divided us, issues that were really important, and created a conversation about how to make a country better. I think today we even need that conversation even more.
One of the notable exhibits is Oprah's desk, which she used for over 25 years. As head of the company Harper Studio in Chicago, Winfrey became the first African-American to start her own motion picture studio and the first African-American woman billionaire.
So this desk is a representation of Oprah's kind of seat of power, if you will, the kind of nerve center of her media company, where she ran her business, where she met with her producers to decide what the shows would be about for the Oprah Winfrey Show.
Recognized by both her peers and by her many fans around the world, perhaps the most difficult thing to exhibit is the love and admiration so many people have expressed. Despite the long lines of people waiting to see the Oprah exhibit, organizers say it's just a fraction of the millions of people Oprah Winfrey has touched over the years. Maxim Moskalkov for VOA News, Washington.
Well, scattered life jackets on a beach in Greece, inspired an artwork by a teenager, wanted to learn more about the European refugee crisis. 17-year-old Achilles Soros hopes his project, called SOS for Save Our Souls, inspires others to learn more about their plight. VOA's Mike O'Sullivan reports from Los Angeles.
Thousands of refugees flooding out of the Middle East and North Africa, creating a humanitarian crisis. Achilles Soros was learning about the crisis at his school in Barcelona. He hoped to create an artwork as he learned more.
It culminated in me reaching out to get actual life jackets from Lesbos in Greece, where many migrants would arrive.
With help from the mayor of Lesbos, a Greek island that has coped with a flood of migrants, Soros got raw material for the artwork, eventually receiving hundreds of life jackets.
When I touched them, I realized that each one of these life jackets represented a human life, and it also had the smell of the sea, so it just made it much more impactful than I thought initially.
He fashioned a shelter that looked like the igloos of indigenous people in the far north. In different configurations, the artwork has been shown from South Africa and Italy to Canada. He was in Los Angeles for the LA Design Festival and brought a small version of the installation made with miniature life jackets cut from fabrics from the real ones. He says this pop-up exhibit is not political.
The project isn't really meant to influence somebody's point of view. It's really just meant to serve as a pop-up to make somebody feel more inspired to explore more about the crisis like I did.
The UN Refugee Agency says more than 65 million people have been displaced from their homes worldwide. More than 22 million are refugees, people forced to flee because of conflict or persecution. Soros says that's something he wants people to think about. Mike O'Sullivan, VOA News, Los Angeles.
Well, and that's our show for today. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a good night.
Welcome to English in a Minute. Today's episode won't cost you anything.
Freebie.
Let's see what this one is about.
Anna, I love my job.
Oh yeah? Why is that?
I get so many freebies from the bands I write about. CDs, t-shirts, water bottles, even tickets to see them perform.
Wow. The only freebie I ever got from my